At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our co-chairs for this evening. First off, Mike and Megan Ohlers. They've become invaluable members of our community. I've gotten the pleasure to know them very closely, and I've gotten to work with Mike on a couple of projects that have been, I think, beneficial to the school, but also beneficial to me personally. So much of my job is watching children grow, and so often I forget how many people have situations out there that aren't so blessings and so wonderful. And I got to work with Mike with a student who really needed St. Francis for a change in her life, and it's made leaps and bounds in the young lady that she is today. And I probably wouldn't have had that chance had I not met Mike, so I can't even begin to say how much I appreciated that opportunity, Mike, because how much it affected me. We're so blessed to do what we do for a living and to do it each day in an amazing community like this. And so often we forget, but it's so nice to give back and to see someone who's not as fortunate as we are really reap the benefits of this wonderful community. So without further ado, let me please introduce Mike and Megan Ohlers.
I feel real honored, and we both do, to be here tonight. And I guess I would say personally, and maybe this is why I'm the one that's speaking, is I'm the most unlikely person that he would ever think that would be here. I'm the closest thing I ever had to being a Catholic was growing up 4 houses down from the Catholic Church. I never set foot in the place, you know. And so when it came time to where our child was going to go to school, and having married Megan, who was brought up very Catholic, the discussion was about to be had about where our child would go to school, and then I looked in her eyes and I realized I was going to lose the argument, and so we just never had it. We're at St. Francis. So I work for an organization called the Burlington Housing Authority, and I'm a social worker, which is kind of an odd thing to do at a public housing authority, but we're kind of an odd team that does this work trying to keep people housed and things like that. And so what I wanted to do is begin by reading a piece that I wrote in a year-end report. There was this chapter in 2 years ago in my report called The Benefits of Church, and I thought I would read that to you. So, the benefits of church. Before I move on, can I tell you what I learned in church this year? It's related, I promise. I'm not Catholic, but my 6-year-old son, Brenton, is going to Catholic school. On Tuesdays, all 10 grades, pre-K through 8, go to 8 a.m. Mass, which is open to the public as well. Megan started going to help ease our son's discomfort with this very different part of a very different school. It was his first year. After week 1, Brenton asked me why I wasn't going. I didn't have a good answer, so begrudgingly started attending Mass as well. We didn't sit with him. He sat with his 7th grade church buddy, Amy. She's awesome, by the way. And the rest of his kindergarten class and their buddies. I was often the only one left seated in the pew when it was time to step forward and receive communion blessing. Yet, what I call Kids Mass became a place where I felt very, very comfortable. What I noticed while I listened to the child recited Bible verses and prayers, priest homilies, and school choir sung church hymns was almost always the focus was on taking care of those who are in need. In a personal infused sense of irony, religion, naivete, ignorance, I didn't see anything technically religious about it. Anyway, thankfully, I continued to learn. And through my hour of reflection on Tuesday mornings, I'm reminded that there is a point to what I do for a job. There are people out there in need. They are no better or worse than me. They are just at this moment in need of my help. And yes, can use our prayers, whatever that means to each one of us who writes, reads, or listens to this. One week, Monsignor Lavalle told us in his homily that it was the year of the Jubilee of Mercy. He defined mercy as getting what you don't deserve and not getting what's coming to you. He then went on to add that mercy is like having the slate wiped clean. What I'm saying is I write here, more to remind myself more than anything, is that what we do for others should have nothing to do with what they deserve, what they did or did not do. We tend to judge others by our own constructs. And to be truly merciful is to eliminate that from the human services equation. I need to just do what needs to be done whenever possible for that fellow human being in crisis at that time. As Monsignor Lavalle said in the subsequent homily when speaking of St. Damien of Molokai, who chose to live on an island with those who have leprosy simply because they were human beings too, quote, the sooner we accept that it's not us and them, it's we, the better off we will be. Wow. I was just stunned at that moment. And can you imagine if I was changed at my age, what it's like for a person in the prime of their learning life to hear that? I got a lot of comments from our board regarding that writing. Megan can tell you that I now obsess about what is being said, read, and sung at what I call Kids Mass. I shush her if she is whispering with a friend, even before Mass is begun. Even before it's begun, we need to reflect. case there's a nugget I can use in my life. I read every word of every hymn that is being sung. Can I just say I love the choir? I recently have taken to bring a Bible with me so I can better follow the verses. Kids Mass has become, at my old age, my place to learn. I walk home alone after Mass each Tuesday, regardless of the weather, so I can
Not
flex.
because I don't offer to be
regardless of the weather, to reflect on what I've learned and prepare for my day. And then there was this. Father Groton's first homily this fall, he told the kids how happy he was to see them, that he missed them. But that wasn't enough. He went on to make sure he told them that they were good. And he emphasized good, in his own way, asking them if they knew that while telling them that they were. He was very direct, as if he were speaking to each child individually. You are a good person. You know that, don't you? I was blown away again. And how often does a kid hear that? Not a nice job in that test or good catch in the game, but hey, you are a really good person. And here's where I fold the Kids Mass into the school. Stuff like that happens all day, every day at St. Francis. Yes, there is the academic achievements, and I won't lie, it's awesome to see Brinton's good grades when they are good. But it's much more. Those kids are being told every day that they are good people, and they are being taught that with being good comes responsibility. I've come to realize that St. Francis is as true an opportunity to develop one's goodness as a child will ever have. I've gone from being the skeptical, public school for all proponent to St. Francis's biggest non-Catholic cheerleader. And that comes on two levels. One, personally, I don't want Brinton to even ever think about going to a different school. He is in effect home. We have found a home. Two, St. Francis is a vital piece to this community. I'm convinced it is unique. It's not just another Catholic school. I see a level of pride in those kids that I've never, ever before observed. It's like even while they are in the midst of learning, they know something good is going on. So, it's just a wild place. And I'm going to end with one more story that Mr. Becker alluded to, because I think it's important. It's a really important part of what the school does. I had the opportunity last year to have two parts of my life fold into each other. I have a client who's endured unthinkable challenges in her life. It had become clear to me in our team meetings that her Catholic faith was important to her. So I approached Mr. Becker, and he and I began a plan to get her daughter, who had been struggling mightily in her current school, into the St. Francis 8th grade. The family has serious financial limitations, but through a lot of negotiation and flexibility on Mr. Becker's part and hard work on the mother's part, her daughter graduated from St. Francis. It was, however, not a year without its challenges. But when it became time for a meeting to discuss said challenges, it was Mr. Becker who called for and held that meeting. In a subsequent Human Services team meeting with the mother, she told us that she had been prepared to hear that her daughter had screwed up, and that she as a parent had screwed up again, a message they both had been getting from every male in their lives since forever. But that's not what happened. Mr. Becker simply asked my client's daughter if she was okay, and said if there was a problem, academic or otherwise, that he would like to help. He told them both that he and the St. Francis staff would do anything they could to help. My client's daughter was not just a student in trouble, she was a young person in crisis, and he saw it as the school's role to help her through whatever challenges she was facing. To this group, us, that is a nice story, and likely not a surprising one, but to my client, it was life-changing. No one had ever told she or her children that they were good and that they were worthy of help. Against the odds again, that student is now at Rice. She wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the opportunity and the compassion she received from Mr. Becker and everyone at St. Francis. That too is what St. Francis is all about. So, I would just say, if the reason we're here is to support this school, I think that says it all, and thanks.